So today we're talking about how to budget for times like this, right? How to budget your money. So go ahead, Pete. I'll let you start it off. But that's when you can host it. I was gonna sit here and make jokes.
Well, I think it's thanks, Mitch. I think it's a really important time to manage your money, especially when it comes to our business. There's a lot of Mitch and I discuss this all the time, and I think I've discussed it with Matt too. There's a lot of shiny objects out there, right? That everybody is trying to sell you, or hey, we're gonna drive seller leads to you this way or that way, or so forth. And sales are down. That's a fact. Inventory is building. Rates are, I call them normal, but most people think they're high to where they were, and I think that's an issue, right? So I think as business people and as business owners, because you own your business and you run your business, you have to be very astute with where you pay things and what you do with your money. Because it can go away pretty quickly through credit cards and so forth. So I think it's a really good conversation to have on how to kind of manage your money in your business. Let's start off with Maddie. And Matt, why don't you just share with everyone, where are you spending money right now, marketing wise, business wise, and for production?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting topic. I've gone all over the board. Whenever the market slows down, and I've been through multiple cycles in 25 years, I always look back at the money that I was spending when the market was jamming, and I go, man, I was really blowing a lot of money. You know what I mean? Now, I'm a big believer in spending money on marketing is certainly worth it, but you really do have to take a look at, there are a lot of shiny objects. There's a lot of different programs. All of our email inboxes get, jammed with offers, and our phones with everybody selling all sorts of things. I've gone all over the board, from doing TV and radio, which is very expensive, to doing, direct mail, to doing lots of online advertising. And personally, what I've gone back to at this point, the volume of people selling right now doesn't support spending money, the amount of money that you have to spend on TV and radio for it to make sense, in my opinion. What I was finding when I was still doing, for example, TV, which I was still doing even the beginning of this year, is, it generated some business, but it barely paid for itself. So I was basically working for free. The only people that were making money was the TV stations. So I've gone back, and I've not been able to generate good enough, personally anyway, good enough quality leads doing online marketing. I've tried Google pay-per-click, all sorts of different things. And yes, I can generate leads, but the quality of them is so low that for me it doesn't work. So I've gone back to, I've definitely trimmed a lot of fat from stuff that I was spending money on that I wasn't really getting a good enough, a return on. And I'm still doing that, but I've really gone back to the real basic, which is, following up with past clients, and also doing direct mail. And I'm always amazed, I don't think direct mail is ever going to go away as an effective way to market. The guy that I basically learned about doing TV from is a guy, Russell Shaw, in Phoenix. And I'm friends with him, and he's been in the business forever. And he even says if he had to do it over again, he would have just done direct mail. Because, of course, when you do TV and radio, you hit a big, broad area. And if you don't, you never become the expert in a given area because you're all over the place. It's the shotgun approach. The beauty, and the same with so that's how TV is and radio. The beauty with direct mail is you can target specific neighborhoods, specific communities, and you become the expert. Right. So the thing with direct mail, what I always tell everybody is you have got to be consistent, number one. You still have to be offering something that differentiates you. You can't just send out postcards saying, you know, call Matt. He's the best. It's got to be something that differentiates. You got to have a unique selling proposition, and you've got to do it consistently, because people will call you up and say, "Hey, we need to sell our house, and we get these things in the mail from you, and looks like you're the guy, so we'd like to talk with you." And I know David Lawson does a ton of direct mail in Park City. I think most top agents do a lot of direct mail. And what happens when the market slows down is people don't, they're not selling houses, and so they stop doing whatever marketing that was working. And guess what? The phone stops ringing. So it's a vicious cycle. So I think it's really important to be consistent. And that goes back to another thing that I always say is, you set your marketing budget whenever you start. It doesn't have to be at the beginning of the year. Let's say you're starting right now. You want to make sure that you have a budget where you can, if you're going to mail to a particular community, you got to make sure that you have the budget set aside, or at least that, you know that you can continue to do that. Like when you start working in an area, you should basically say, I'm going to market to this area, this farm, for the rest of my career. I'm never going to stop. And I've made that mistake too, right? Because I used to work areas, maybe I lived in that area. We all like to work areas where we live, because we're comfortable doing that. And I'd move out of a community to another community, and I'd kind of stop working that area. I mean, I had neighborhoods where I used to have like 30% market share. When you have 30% market share of an area, you look like you work for the builder, So the main thing is you got to be consistent. Everything works, whether it's TV, radio, direct mail, online advertising, but you have to be offering something, some unique selling proposition that differentiates you from the competition. So whatever it is, there's a million different things. You can do the guaranteed sale program, right? That's something we learned years ago back when we all used to go to Craig Proctor conferences about, I guarantee your home sold or I'll buy it myself. Your home sold for, your asking price, or I'll pay you the difference. You can make up whatever you want. I like lately, for the last few years, I've been saying I can sell your home in one weekend. No signs, no open houses, no multiple days of showings, because I think that's appealing to sellers. Or that you can sell their home for X percentage more, and just look at what your homes sell for percentage wise relative to the average in a given area. I mean, you can work the numbers any way you want, but the point is you really have to be consistent, and it really doesn't matter what your budget is. And if you don't have a budget, you can go out and knock on doors. That still works also. It's the exact same thing. It works great. And I've never gone out and knocked on doors and not gotten something out of it, right? There's a guy here in San Diego who has been knocking on doors in Carmel Valley for probably 35 years. And that's all he does. He does a little bit of direct mail, but mainly he goes out 5 days a week and he knocks on doors for 3 hours. And he leaves behind a little, market update for the neighborhood. That's all he does. And he gets lots of exercise. He stays in shape. He's an older guy now, but he's, so everything works. You've just got, what doesn't work is doing nothing. Everything works and nothing doesn't. And if you're going to spend money on marketing, it could be $300 a month, right? But you got to make sure that you have $300 a month for the rest of your life to work that area. So budget, it's very important. You can spend a lot of money, especially when you're selling lots of houses and making big commissions. A lot, I've been a victim of it too. You spend a lot of money and then you look back at the end of the year and gee, what kind of return did you get on it? So, but anyway, I'm a big believer in direct mail, and I'm also a big believer in just picking up the phone. We have expired listings now. I know I'm getting off topic here, but we have expired listings now. So I pay for a service that gives me expired listings now because they're out there,
What do you,
for a
Matt? So
change.
let me ask you this. So what are you paying per month, and what's your budget for direct mail?
It's a moving target, but not a whole, probably about $5,000 a month at the moment, which I'm going to increase because I also believe that, I think we're getting to the point where a lot of people, at least in the markets that I work, where we're starting to see, I think we're going to start seeing more people deciding to finally sell their homes and move, regardless of what's happening with interest rates. I think that we're getting to the point, and that's why we're seeing inventory going up. I think that's going to happen. Something's got to give, and I think we're going to start seeing more people deciding that it's time to sell. Right? They've been in their homes. A lot of these people were planning on moving in 2019 and 2020, and then COVID happened. Right? Well, we have a lot of baby boomers that are empty nesters who've got these big homes they don't want anymore, and they're going to sell them and they're going to move. So I think we're going to continue to see more and more people. But at the end of the day, there's business out there. I think it's really easy to get talked into the idea that, you know what, no one's selling their houses right now because interest rates are high and everyone has low interest rates. And so you're not going to get any return on doing any marketing or any door knocking or whatever because no one's going to sell. It's not true. There might be fewer people selling. But beginning of this year, my idea, I said, it's going to be maybe a smaller pie of business that we're going to go after, but it just means we got to go after it harder. And a lot of people are slow, but a lot of people are having great years this year. And those are the people that are going after it.
So let me ask you. So you're sending out $5,000 worth of mailers every month. How do you follow up with those mailers? What's the process?
The process is, that's really what I do. I market to these areas and I try to stay consistent, and I get business from it, right? I get leads from it. Is
it once a month? Do you have calls to action? Do you have QR codes? Do you have find out your values? Do you get a market report? What is
all of that? And I use Follow Up Boss and I use Fellow, which when anybody responds to any of my mailers, it automatically responds to them. And I do use QR codes, and I get a lot of people going to my website and, to find out what their home is worth. And I always follow up with them, and they may, sometimes they say, no, I was just curious, I'm not moving at the moment or whatever. But a lot of times they are, I had basically 2 appointments this week that were practically come list me calls, right? Of people just saying, I followed up with them and I just said, hey, you were on one of our websites. Looks like, trying to find out what your home is worth. They didn't pick up, so I just left them a voicemail and just said, if I can help you in any way, whether it's providing you a value or giving you any information, I'm happy to do that. Feel free to call me back. And I always call and text, and they both called and texted me back and said, yeah, actually we are. One's moving to Tennessee, and the other one, where's the other one moving? I don't know, somewhere else. But
where are they moving?
One's moving to Tennessee. One's moving to Santa Cruz. She's moving outside of Nashville. But she already has an agent, Peter, or else I would have referred it to you. But I'm still trying to refer it to you. But I haven't listed her house yet.
All right, we'll see how it
But anyway,
goes. I like all that information. What I mean is, did you cut anything back during this kind of slowing time? What did your budget look like, and how are you trying to cut back? God. And how do you determine what you cut?
Well, I cut back on TV. That's a huge one. That's a big expense. Because, to really do anything like San Diego, you got to spend bare minimum $20,000 a month on TV for it to make any impact. So that's a huge one, because I used to spend $20,000 to $50,000 a month. I know those are ridiculous numbers, but so cut TV is huge. I also realized, I was doing a lot of, Google pay-per-click, um, going to a Real Geeks website, which is very similar to a conversion website, and paying a virtual assistant to follow up with all the leads, and very, very, just very low quality lead. So I stopped that because
Yeah,
it
you
just
just
wasn't
go
getting
and
any
past
return on it.
clients, and,
You know,
so direct mail past
so
clients.
I
That's
haven't
kind
been
of
direct mail and past clients. Yeah, I've given up. I really have given up on it just seems the quality of online leads. And I would love to hear somebody else who's doing it successfully so I could figure out how to do it. But I feel like I used to do pretty well generating online leads. It's always a matter of doing a lot of follow up and a lot of conversion. But I feel like the quality used to be better. I don't know if they're all being sucked up by Zillow now. I have no idea. But
I'll make
what's
a
that,
quick
Mitch?
comment on that, Matt. I'll make a quick comment on that since I have a little bit of clue on that. So it's not
Mhm.
that the quality is any better or any worse. It's the competition is 10 times more. So back when we used to do it back in the day, back when both you and I had hair, Matt, the when you did online marketing, you were pretty much the one that got that lead. Now, when you're doing online marketing, they're registering on Zillow, they're Realtor.com, Homes.com, 3 or 4 agent websites. So now instead of having one person, it's literally 10 people having that same lead,
Mhm.
and it's really going to be whoever does the best, quickest. We always talk speed to lead, and then whoever has the best follow up, the best phone voice, the best pitch, basically, is going to win that thing. But it's really about the people who stay in touch with them longer because the buying time cycle of an online lead is literally 6 to 9 months.
Mhm.
So most of your agents will not do the follow up, but so that's why the leads. But that's the quality of the lead hasn't changed. The lead's still a lead. Someone goes on searches, San Diego homes, San Diego real estate. They're still registering on a website. It's just that they're registering on a lot of websites now. So,
Yeah, so the nurturing it becomes an issue of nurturing the lead for a while. Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Let me
nurturing's
so let me
huge.
ask you this.
We,
Let's go ahead, Ross.
I was just saying, you have to nurture. We had 2 closings last month that we nurtured for over 400 days, and they ended up coming
Wow.
to the
Wow.
closing table. So you got to put in the simple systems to make sure that you're always in front of people. So I just wanted to comment on that.
No, that's good. Let's go
And
to
that's
Mitch because he was
yeah, go
just
ahead.
on. Matt, just so we can move it around. Mitch, what have you been
Sure,
doing
sure.
with your budget, and how have you cut back with the slowing of the market? How are you controlling your budget in your business?
I fired everybody. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Ooh,
so,
that
so a
works
couple things.
sometimes.
First of all, let's talk about just the basics of running a business, because I don't think a lot of people even understand that in our industry. Cash flow is everything. So even the years when I had my brokerage and I lost money, I had several years where I lost 30, 40, $50,000. And I was had to leave a broker with 100 agents would lose money, but that's real. I still cash flowed. So I never worried about going out of business because I was still cash flowing. So you need to make sure you have cash flow. Cutting back, you really have to first of all, look at your credit card bill every month. There's so many people I know, including myself, by the way. I just did this recently. That's what I'm talking about, who have things they're paying $19.95 a month for, $29.95 a month for $50 that you don't even think about. And you go on, if you look at your credit card, which honestly my wife finally made me do that because I never looked at my credit cards before. I just paid them. It is if you look at your credit card, I guarantee you have money you're just wasting there. And then look at where your spends are. Look at your return on investment is so important. And I'm a big believer in doing things like really efficiently and inexpensively. Um, I mean, I built my first 36 to 50 sales for literally no money. So you got to go back to basics. So I'm going to hit a little bit on your sphere. I mean, you guys have seen me say this a million times. You have more sales sitting in your phone than you'll ever need the rest of your life, but you'll chase shiny objects and spend thousands of dollars on shiny objects. Um, this is the time where you really need to maximize your database. And that should be one of our next classes is how to maximize your database. But I'll give you a couple of tips on that. If you've got a decent database, why are you not doing webinars to your database? And I'll give you an example of that. We always ran between 50 and 100,000 leads in our database as a brokerage. As an individual, I always had between 2 and 3,000 leads as a database. We would do literally every other month, we do a first time home buyer webinar. And out of 50,000 people, we get 1,000 to 2,000 people to get on those webinars. Right? Always. Those are people raising my hand. I want help. Right? I'd be doing home seller webinars right now. Homes are not selling as much. Homeowners don't understand that, especially people that bought their homes in the last 5 or 6, 7 years. They don't understand a market crash because they never owned a home before. So what are you doing to maximize your database and your sphere? Because that's where your business is. This whole chasing all these other things is honestly it's just a waste of money. Not that it doesn't work, but I made a fortune doing pay-per-click marketing. But again, it's more difficult if you're not going to have an ISA right now and an inside sales agent as an individual agent. Probably don't recommend doing internet marketing because you're probably not going to do what it takes to follow up. Just my experience. Go back to basics, right? I made my living on open houses and getting out in the world. Stop hiding behind your computer and get out in the world. And your job every day is to add a new person to your database. So if you're adding a new person to your database, it's really difficult. And I'll tell you how the conversation goes. And I did this. This is how I built. By the way, when I started my business, I knew 0 people here because my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and she lived with me, so she wasn't buying anything. And so I had to build a business from scratch, from 0 people. And open houses were my gold mine. 36 sales the first year, 28 were open houses. Of course, doing them correctly. But also, I built my database. So how did I build my database? I would literally go to the grocery store, like 3 times a week, because I love shopping for some reason. Grocery shopping. It's a weird thing, I know, but I really enjoy it. I think it's because all the 80-year-old women hit on me. Well, back then there were 60 because I was only 40. And here's how the conversation goes. I always pick the longest line to go grocery shopping in, to go check out. Everybody else goes to the quickest line. And the person in front of me, this is how it went every single time. And this is literally how I built my database. Say, hey, how's your day going today? Oh, they always said either great, good, and once in a blue moon, they said it sucked. And if they said it sucked, honestly, that was the end of the conversation because I really didn't. They weren't people I wanted to talk to. I don't like talking to negative people. So if they say good or great, I would say they would always 100% say, how's your day? Oh, I'm in the real estate business. Crazy right now. Oh, you're in the real estate business. And what's the next line? Every single time. How's the market? Every single time. 100%. How's the market? And this is what I would say to them. Well, that's a little crazy right now because it's always crazy no matter what, right? Even if it's bad, it's crazy. If it's good, it's crazy. Yeah, a little crazy right now. And so one of the things I do locally is I send out a monthly email with the market update, what's going on in our local market. Would you like me to add you to that list? I didn't track it, but I would say it was probably about 80% said yes. So if you did that once a day, so here's the statistic. One, and you've heard me say this before, 1 out of 100 people in your database are going to, 7 out of 100 people in your database are going to buy or sell a home this year. If your goal is to add 1 person a day to your database by doing what I just said, so go get coffee everyone and do the exact same thing, do what I just said, you will add 365 people to your database. That's 20 more potential sales adding to your database every single year you're in business. Free. Well, the price of coffee or whatever your groceries are. But the point is don't chase shiny objects. If you're right now is the time to buckle down. Don't be wasteful. When the market's good and you're making, $850,000 a week, like I make selling houses. Yeah, right. That's when you can spend extra money testing things, but this is not the time to be testing things. This is the time to be doing proven things that work. Open houses, we know they work amazing. Working your sphere, we know they work amazing. Stop chasing shiny objects. There you go. Happy birthday.
I think that's great stuff. I mean, I don't know about everybody on this call, but recently I've been getting calls from everyone from YLOPO to Zillow to Homes.com. And, they're not calling me because it's a popularity contest or they like me, you guys. They're calling me to pitch me. There's a sale made on every single call. Either they sell me or I sell them, why I'm not going to do it. But they're all reaching out right now from the woodwork because realtors are tapering back. So with that being said, so Gary, I know you've had a lot of transition in your team over the last 6 months. What have you done to get yourself and your budget prepared for kind of the next period of real estate? You got to unmute.
Yep. Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, no, thank you. So couple of things. I mean, just following up on like what Mitch said in terms of, reviewing your budget often. I do have like a financial meeting or review my finances every single week. Review the credit card statements every single month, line item. Like if there's something that I don't know, Mitch had mentioned all the 995, the 19. So like over the last several months, even starting beginning of the year, I pretty much wiped out all the things that like I'm not exactly using, aren't providing value. And so, believe it or not, that could add up to $500 a month. I've also contacted some of the companies that I've been working with for marketing, like platforms or whatever the case. And, maybe we're not utilizing them to the fullest, but I just got a $300, monthly credit when they said that they wouldn't do it. I told them I was going to cancel and we pulled it back. I mean, it's a platform that I do want to use, you know what I mean? And want to keep around, but just kind of having those conversations in these times, trying to scale back. The other things that I've done recently is really, I think Mitch also mentioned about looking into your current database. So for the last, I don't know, I want to say 3, 4, 5 years, I've, been in a way buying online leads through Boomtown and through Ylopo and through pay-per-click and digital marketing companies, et cetera. And so I had 16,000 leads inside of my database. I'd probably admit that more than half of them are complete crap. And, so more recently I shut off all of those lead gen systems. It saved me almost $5,000 a month in turning those off. I think my ad spend was around $10,000, $11,000 a month between the companies that I was, hiring to kind of facilitate that, the ad spend, et cetera, et cetera. So what we've done in the last couple, I wouldn't say like maybe 2 months, I've turned off all my Ylopo leads, turned off my digital marketing leads, kind of reorganized some of the companies as well. So I let go of the, I don't want to call them the fancy marketing company or agency, but I hired more of an in-house. It's a local consultant, but for half the cost of what I was paying them, I'm actually getting more grassroots and I'm getting more attention in doing the same, if not more, type of marketing activities. Also within, I've also hired an in-house ISA. I'm kind of going through that process right now. And the goal has been to turn over all the existing leads. Last night alone, I got rid of and basically trashed over 6,000 leads that were in my database that were just complete crap, and tried to really sort through to find, kind of we're panning for gold, if you will, to see where the opportunities are. But that still leaves me with almost 8,000 leads that I'm having the ISAs go through currently, and having more, real conversations and then assigning those to myself and the other agent on my team. God, what was the other thing that we've done? I mean, I've really been more cutting back on all the shiny objects and investing more in building a brand. And I think that's the most important thing, in times like these. It's really building your brand, getting back to your sphere of influence and your past clients. That really is where I've generated 70 to 80% of my business, no matter how much money I'm spending on outside, marketing. That's really where it's all at. So if we're going back to return on investment, I'm going back to brand building and really turning into what I currently have to see if I can, get an ROI on the money that I've already spent over the past, several years, instead of trying to push more leads into the system that we really just haven't been, successful in, whether it's the follow-up or the conversion part anyways. So trying to really dial in those systems and cutting back on any other expenses. So I think in the last, 3 to 6 months, I've cut about $6,000 off of my marketing budget.
And so let me follow up with this. How do you determine what your marketing budget is from here out for the second half of the year? Have you determined that? Have you set it? So this is how much I'm going to spend per month. This is what I feel will get me the best ROI.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, how do I put it? My goal was to spend about 25% to 30% on like new business acquisition, meaning 25 to 30% of my, annual, revenue, let's just say, right? So third for savings, third for taxes, and a third for, business development. And so, so with that model in mind, really I've just been trying to cut back to as little as possible. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a specific budget, but I'm trying to keep the things that I do believe in that's going to work. I don't want to cut it out altogether. Like in COVID, I doubled down, and I did see a return in growth in that when a lot of people were pulling back. I'm not taking that same approach right now in doubling down, but at the end of the day, I feel like by consolidating and focusing my funds on the resources that I truly believe are going to be most relevant, I have doubled down in those avenues because I'm not so spread out. And so my budget right now, like I said, is about maybe almost $5,000 a month in terms of the ISA, the marketing company, and I have minimal ad spend, or the marketing consultant. And that came down from like $11,000 a month.
Yeah, I think that's important because money can go out as fast as it can come in, and you have to be aware of it, and you have to just look at what's working for your business. And this is typically somewhat of a slow time of year. It's dead summer and people are traveling and so forth. So what my suggestion would be, if I can just chime in here, is take out your credit cards, have everything on your business consolidated to one credit card, and go through that credit card each month and just see what you can eliminate that's not really benefiting your business. And make sure that you have a written down plan on where you're going to spend money and how you're going to spend money, so that you do get an ROI. So you're not just flying by the seat of your pants. I mean, if worse comes to worse, narrow your database down to the top 50 or 100 people that are connectors, sphere of influence, or past clients, and direct mail to them every month. Frequency matters. Sometimes you can do it every 2 weeks, but I think in this market right now, I would suggest once a month. We use Dakota over at Real Marketing. I'll put his information in there, you guys. So even if he says the exclusive zip code in your area isn't available, you can at least use him for your sphere of influence and past clients. And I think that's the best way to be in front of them. So, send them something direct on the market, call them, text them, email them every month. Do that same process. It'll definitely generate business. That's what I've been doing. That's what right now I am kind of doing what Gary did, where I'm going into my database. I think I have over 15 or 16,000 people in it, and I'm trying to weed through that. It's like trying to cut a path through a jungle to get to the beach. And it's challenging. I'm not going to say it's easy, but we're working on it every day. And that's our goal, to really look at what's working, what isn't. We've cut back a lot of things, a lot of things. And we're going to try to be consolidating offices and all types of things, because that's what good businesses do. They don't wait till it's upon you. You do it 6 months in advance. And the market's going to be a little weird with this election coming up and other things. Hopefully we do get a little bit of relief with the rates in the fall, and that may help. But I think the inventory building is a good thing. All right, let's go to Ross the Boss Stout out there. He's inside, definitely an air conditioned area, because it's, I think, 124 degrees. So when I say he's hot, he's hot. What have you been doing? What have you cut back? How are you managing your team, your business, and your overhead?
Totally. So, well, before I get started on the nuts and bolts, I think you just got to find out in this market, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the Flash? Do you want to be the guy with the big watch on? Do you want to be do you want to impose that you're the business, or do you want to be the business? I talked to a lot of guys at our last top producer event out here in the desert, and they're like, I have never been worth more on my net worth and have so little cash in my pocket. Like Mitch said, your cash flow is the lifeblood of your business. And if you want to be the net worth guy and can't quite drive through McDonald's and eat at night, that's cool. But we really want to focus on how you want to be in operations. And for me, it's about making a strong percentage on every deal. I've chosen to do the team model, leveraging Zillow Flex for leads. And with that, I have to see how much am I going to invest in my team members. What does that mean? Give a exact definition of what they receive from me, so they know, or so I know that I'm not just flying by the seat of my pants and buying whatever they need. We have a direct path, and what's going to be the most effective. When we start getting outside of our driven path on the straight and narrow, it's if you start driving or flying from, say, Palm Springs, California to New York City, if you're off by just 1 degree when you start deviating from your path, you're going to end up in Florida instead of New York, and that's not the given destination. So we have to be really focused on what our business plan is and how to drive ROI from that. So for me, sales isn't always the goal. Like, yes, that is how we make money, but it has to be on the ROI. I know there's a team in town here that's doing over 250 million, but they're only pulling like 15% profit off each sale because they have their fingers in so many pies that, like, yes, that's amazing. What a feat for a small team to do 250 million. Talking about like 10 to 15 members, like that's a huge number. But if you're paying huge referrals off every deal, if you're buying all these lead services, if you're paying for all the shiny objects so that you're working less and leveraging someone else, that to me doesn't equal a successful business. Yes, it's a great marketing tool. Yes, it'll drive you into hyper good markets. But right now, when it's tight, I'm more worried about what I'm making per deal, so I can continue to not only grow my wealth, but to grow my team's success. So you can't deviate from the path. You have to know exactly what it is you're doing. And that's kind of from like a team standpoint, from a team lead standpoint. What I'm really focusing on is standards and procedures. So we have all this data, and if we're not going to pay attention to it, then that's where we're going to fall. Either our clients are going to fall through the cracks, or we're going to lean on the wrong people, or we're going to lead in the wrong direction. So like with my team, if you're not reporting, then you're too busy to receive leads. So we have monitoring systems on how people are reporting. We're looking into each and every facet of their business, not because I want to like put my thumb on them and be Mr. Bossman, like, you suck. No, it's like, hey, here's a healthy conversation. I want you to be the best agent you can be. I think that's why you signed up with me, because I believed in you. And I believe that my offering can take your business to the next level. So let's have a discussion on how you can utilize all the tools we've given you to the best fashion so you can make your business the best you can be. And when we start having that attitude and really focusing on the standards and the data, that's when you can really see what's going to work and what's not. And what I'm finding what's working and cutting back is I'm not spending really on anything. My lead source is a referral driven business. So me and my team know that when we receive a lead, it's going to be paid on the back end. So I'm not carrying what I used to carry, 20,000+ a month to generate leads for a small team. I think my ad spend right now, if I were to be purchasing from Zillow, would be somewhere around $220,000 a month. So I'm getting that kind of rocket fuel because we are harvesting and nurturing each lead properly. And in the business that I'm in, we're getting heavily rewarded for doing the right things. So I'm not spending on pay-per-clicks. I'm not spending on ISAs. My leads are driven directly to each agent in a fair manner. Yes, it does based on metrics. Whoever has strong metrics, I know they're going to go to closing, so they're going to get first ABs. But everyone is getting a fair amount of leads across the board, and everyone is fighting for that top spot. And that healthy competition is really what drives a team and what drives individual business, because it's not like you're mad at that other person. It's more like, man, I want to be that top dog. And it's not a coveted, like a coveting type of deal. It's more of a, let's grow together, and like, I'm going to catch you. And so anyways, those are healthy things to harvest in a down market. What we're really talking about now is scripts on how to get going and targeting calls on listing. So at our 4:00 meeting today for our training, we're going to start off with how to target homes, what homes you want to target, to call and use the good old David Lawson quiet sale technique, because EXP has so many avenues for us to go and leverage, so that when we're calling people, we can tell them, like Matt said, we can sell your house in one weekend because we have express offers. We're not promising a price, we're just promising a sale. And then we can drive them to the open market. And like what Matt said, no signs, tailor it to the house. I think one great line that I learned 5-6 years ago, walking through a cool neighborhood and you see a fantastic house and you think in your mind, man, I wish I had that house. Hey, go knock on that door. Your house inspired me. I think it's so cool. And if you can start to walk around and hype people up and let them know you're excited about their product, about their neighborhood, and you're local, and you're making moves in the community, they're going to want to work with you just because of your interaction with them. So never take it lightly that, your investment, your interest in somebody else's well-being, that's, if you start hyping that's a great way to have positive conversations. And that's a face-to-face meeting when you go knock on their door. Remember, every activity we do is to get a face-to-face meeting, right? So if we can fast forward to these free techniques of door knocking, open houses, like Mitch, like bugging people in the grocery line, that's a face-to-face meeting every time. And if we can eliminate that cost in the middle, the ROI becomes 100%. So leverage your relationships. Like Mitch said, everyone has their business right here in their phone. Leverage, encourage people, tell people what a great job they're doing, engage, use social media. Free stuff works, like everyone's been saying. It's just a matter of your spin on it. Be yourself and go for it.
No, I think that's great info. And I know that you have a Zillow Flex team, so it's interesting to hear what you're cutting back on and how you're controlling your budget. I know Mitch had a follow-up. He's been, ripping all his hair out, waiting to comment. So go ahead, Mitch.
I do have a new hair. Look, right? This it.
Nice.
Rogaine is finally working after 25 years. Um, anyways, so I just wanted to throw a couple points out, and I know I've said this stuff on here before, but I'm so passionate about it. There's generally only one reason. There's a couple of others, but there's generally only one main reason why anybody's going to use you as a realtor. It's because you happen to be in front of them when they're thinking about buying or selling. And that's 99% of business comes from that moment. And I made up that number, by the way. It's totally a bullshit number, but I made it up. But anyways, so I want you to think about that. If you have a database, you should be in front of them twice a month. Now, what we've learned, with the exception of listing updates, what we've learned, if you're doing more than that, they tune you out. So and think about yourself. You get emails. We all get emails from people once or twice a week. And after a while, because and they're sending these newsletters with so much crap you'll never read. And we don't unsubscribe from a lot of them because they might be friends of ours. I mean, I have so many of my friends that send me stuff that I don't read any of it. But so it has to be different. It has to be every other week because it's not too much. So I'm going to tell you what we're doing. What we've been teaching Harry works well. And the last person that implemented this with me got 4 buyers and 6 listings in the first 4 months doing it with only 400 contacts. Is we just send out a twice a month email. The first one is the market update, and the second one is top 10 things to do in wherever you live. And they're really simple, but they end with this, and this is really important. As you know, as a realtor, I work by referral only, and I could really, really use your help. If you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, could you send me their contact info? So, and I'll type that in before we hang up here. But that works unbelievably well if you're consistent, like everything else. And Matt said it earlier. If you're not consistent in what you're doing, you should go get a job, because business is not about being whenever I feel like it. It's about consistency in running a business. So that's number one. Number two, if you have a decent sized database, and I can tell you that just because I've been doing this for so long, and I don't mean this meanly, because I know everybody gets their feelings hurt these days. If you are not going to call your database, you need to have an ISA. Now, how can you do that if you can't afford an ISA? Do it by commission. So all my ISAs I've ever hired, for my brokerage or when I have my team were licensed, so I could pay them a commission. So if you're not going to call your leads in your database, hire someone that will, and say, look, I'm not giving you a base. I'm going to give you 25% for every sale. And I'm just making up a commission, whatever that happens to be. We paid our ISAs $2,000 a month in 5%. And they made about 60, 70 grand a year doing that. And they're extremely happy making that. So they're always licensed because you have that ability to pay them by commission or incentivize them by commission, which keeps your monthly your overhead low, but it's based on production. But what it also does is they help you become more accountable. And I'm just talking about if you're an individual agent, because their pay is getting paid when you make sales, right? So they're going to be on you about making sure you're following up with the customer and doing what you're supposed to be doing on your side. So it acts as twofold. If you're a small team, that ISA now becomes your team manager. So I had 45 agents on my lead system when I had my brokerage. I did not manage those agents. My ISAs, because they were paid by commission, they managed those agents and followed up with those agents to make sure they were doing what their job was. And that's why we had a conversion rate of 6% on Google AdWords on raw registration leads. It's a lot different than that. I think we were, with our calling customers that we worked for, I think we were averaging between 10 and 15% conversion on Zillow and Realtor.com. I think we were. So those are pretty high because the national average is 3%. I'm sure you're getting a lot more than that, Ross, because you do it right. But most people don't do things right with their databases, and they wonder why they're not getting sales. The one other thing I'll add to that with regards to internet marketing, every single lead you get on the internet needs to be set up in listing updates. Every single lead. Because only reason why they reached out to you or on whatever site they were, whether it be Zillow or Homes or your personal website, is because they wanted to look at listings. So give them listings. All right. And those are those things that keep you in front of them all the time. Because again, why are they going to use you as a realtor? I'll go back full circle. Because you happen to be in front of them when they think about buying or selling. If there's 10 other people they've registered on websites for, and there's 10 other agents working that leads, if you don't have an ISA or you're not calling those leads and you're not sending them listing updates, somebody else is. So there you go. A little more stuff.
I think that's good, because the highest ROI you're going to have is people you know, people you've worked with, people who you've helped, who they know, and so forth. 100%. So in 30 years, that's what I've always discovered. I'm not saying that you won't get business from Zillow from time to time or from other online places, but it really comes down to relationships. You can't spell real estate without relationships. And that's what it really comes down to. So I would just say pour your money into your relationships, even if you have to throw a party and just invite all your past clients so you can get belly to belly. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Pick your top 5 or top 10 people and meet them for dinner and ask them, who do you know? I could really use your help. Who do you know? I could really, really, really use your help. Who do you know is looking to buy, sell, or invest in the next 30 days? Trust me, they'll
Pete,
find someone.
And if you come in with the mindset of I want to help your business too, you talk to other business owners in your area, that's when you get the reciprocation. If you go up to someone and say, hey, you know what? How can I help your business? Of course, they're going to want to reciprocate. And yes, you got to ask for it. But if you go in with the true intent to help and to see how you can leverage, how you can drive people over there and collaborate, that's going to be even more effective.
Exactly. And that's what we have to look at, because I think a lot of business is done through reciprocity, right? No matter if it's a mortgage guy, a title guy, an escrow guy, home inspection, home warranty, termite, any type of service. I think they're always asking us for business. Flip the script and start asking them for business. That doesn't cost you anything. Trust me, you'll see the ROI and that'll save your budget. But if you right now are stressed because you don't have enough sales or enough money coming in, sit down tomorrow morning, block off 2 hours, go through all your credit cards, go through all the things that cost you money, and then determine, don't just make a rash decision, determine, is that really helping my business? Right? Has it given me ROI in the first half of the year? If it hasn't, it might be time to cut it loose and revisit it when things start turning around, because markets don't stay the same way forever. We just learned that the hard way over the last 24 months. It went from red hot to kind of semi-cold, and I think it's all in how you perceive it, because perception's reality. There are a lot of people taking advantage of this market right now, but I can guarantee you one thing: they're showing up early every day, they're committed every day, they're in the right mindset, they're asking the right questions, and they're just, nothing stops them. They just keep going. If somebody says no, okay, next. Who's next? And they keep digging, trying to find people. They don't sit there and mope. They don't sit there and say, oh, nothing's going on. They go and find the business. That's the key.
People are still buying
If anybody
and
has
selling,
any questions, huh?
people are still buying and selling
Say it
all day
again?
long, every day.
Yeah, listen, people still die. People still get divorces, and a ton of divorces. I mean, most of them are brutal right now. People still have kids. People still get transferred in their jobs. People still lose their jobs. People still outgrow their places. People still, have too big of places that they want to transition to kind of a smaller place. There's people who rent, who are sick of renting. There's people who rent where the landlords are selling the places. I mean, there's so much business in so many different ways. I probably get text messages at least 20 times a week from flippers looking for inventory. So you know what? Go around your area with and this is a very technical system. Go around your area with a pen and a pad of paper and look for all the shittiest homes, all the homes that look like they've never been cared for, or they're in a nightmare of condition, or haven't been kept up, or the landscaping's not good or anything, and take down those addresses and then cross-reference the addresses and call those people. Say, hey, I noticed your house. I have people looking in your neighborhood. As I promised them to reach out to everyone. Don't say you have the shittiest house in the neighborhood, but say, would you consider selling? Yes, I would. Okay, what price excites you? Because you never know. If somebody can't maintain their landscaping, they're either lazy or they're losing it. Mentally, economically, something's going on. And trust me,
Yeah, and that
all the
costs you
neighbors
$1.25.
You'll be like the world champion of real estate. The neighbors will love you.
Totally.
Go ahead, Ross.
And
What
one
were you
last
saying?
thing, well, I was saying that lead system costs you $1.25 for a pad and a pen, and then whatever your cell phone bill costs. But when on the collaboration note, Matt's really inspired me lately, and I won't talk too much about it because it's his deal. But he's been collaborating with local vendors to leverage a beautiful piece of marketing that would normally cost an exorbitant amount, but because he's networking and getting with people and doing advertisements with them, he's sending out a beautiful publication for like less than a quarter of the cost. So I mean, there's so many opportunities out there to go meet with local business owners and really spread out your reach.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, in a sense. I hate using that topic because I do like cats, but there's a lot of ways, you guys, to do it where you can get out there and get things done for little or hardly any money.
Right.
So when people sit there and they say, I have no money, I'm on fumes, right? Or I'm really struggling, go do 2 open houses a day. I guarantee you there's 2 open houses somewhere that are vacant that you can go and do and set up as your office and put up 50 signs for free. It may cost you a little gas money. You may have to, bring your lunch. That's another thing. Prepare your meals for the whole week. Don't keep eating out. Every time you eat out, especially in California, it's an automatic $30, right? Because everybody wants a 40% tip because they handed you a bag of food, right? So they deserve 40% because they're all victims. And if you go anywhere, it costs a fortune. So why don't you just make your own stuff and bring it with you in containers and stay more efficient, stay on the phone. This is a contact business. The more contacts you make, the more contracts you'll write. If you're not contacting people or coming into contact with people, you're never going to sell anything. You could be the greatest salesperson in the world, but those are the facts. Nobody will tell you those facts. All these people are going to sell you on a bunch of BS that you got to do this and you got to do Facebook posts. Listen, it all works, but you have to be consistent. You have to be committed. You have to show up. You have to be in the right mindset. You have to have the right energy and the right vibration. And you have to keep track of what you're doing, because if you don't keep track of what you're doing, you'll get nickel and dimed here and there on your overhead. You know, $9.99 here, $19.99 there, $29.99 there, $49.99 there. I mean, everything. It's crazy, and it adds up fast, you guys. So you have to really do inventory on what you need and what you want, because the things you want right now, you may not be able to do. The things you need to survive, keep those in play. Just make it real simple. A is what you need. B is I'll be back. That's what that stands for. I'll be back is B. And C is see you later. So cut that off immediately. But I would go through every expense, A, B, C, what do I need, right? It's not always be closing. It's always be canceling right now, because you have to really control your budgets. If you don't control it, nobody else will, and you'll be stressed out of your mind. That's the big thing. I'll put in Dakota's information in case anybody wants to do any type of mailer. You know, just call them and say, Pete told me to contact you. Where can I do the mailers and so forth? All right. So Dakota's the head guy at Real Marketing. This is what Matt and I use, and Dennis and Dave Lawson. And everybody else. Yeah, we all do it for a reason, you guys, because guess what? I'll let you in on a little secret. It works. I'm not saying it's cheap, but nothing good is cheap and nothing cheap is good. So, you know, call Dakota and just say, Pete told me to call you. He'll cut you a deal. Trust me. I already cut the deal for EXP Luxury with them. They're one of our preferred vendors. You don't even have to say, what's the deal? Just say, I want Pete's deal. And then you can even text me and say, Pete, I'm getting your deal. And I'll make sure it's right. All right. So that's my tip of the day. Everybody, great info. We're right at the hour, and I don't want to take anybody's time because time's money. But great info. Thank you for doing that. You guys, come back next week. Invite some friends. Everybody is grinding it out. A lot of people are struggling, and a lot of people need some uplifting tips, and that's what we're giving. We're not holding back. We're not asking for anything in return. All we're asking for is to pay attention and put it into action. That's it. Okay? Everybody have a great week. Be productive. Be positive. Talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Yeah,
Cheers.
take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.